Sediq Sediqqi is a former Afghan government official and joins us from Toronto in Canada. Sediq, thank you for your time. For anybody who's forgotten or has put Afghanistan to the back of their mind, and especially its people, what would you say to them about the situation in the country right now?
Their heads must hang in shame, because the Afghan people were their partners for so many years. The Afghan people embraced the global values when they brought, and they proved that the Afghan people actually proved that they want to be an important player in a global society. So the past 2 years and the retake of Afghanistan by the Taliban, this is the Afghan people who suffer, who pay the price in a very difficult, unprecedented circumstances that they never believed that they will be in such kind of situation.
Now here we are 2 years later, and the Taliban has not compromised on any of its principles, knowing that if it does so, a country's economy that relies mostly on foreign money, the majority of people who rely on foreign aid will be assisted by that kind of compromise from the Taliban, because that sort of compromise will bring the Taliban back to the international table, and it may get some sort of recognition. Obviously, it has to do a lot, including the treatment of women. But why is the Taliban not compromising at all?
Well, that's the nature of the Taliban. It's not new. The Afghans knew that the Taliban are not going to compromise, even if they are given legitimacy, or even the policy of appeasement will continue as it continued, at least during the past 10 years, when the so-called peace talks began. So it's very clear, the Afghan people know that, but it takes more time in the international community to understand all the dynamics within the Afghan problems and issues, and they have to get it right. So since the Doha Agreement, which I believe that was not a peace agreement, that was an agreement or a strategy to exit from Afghanistan in a very hasty way and put the Afghan people in such a condition, I think it started all from there. The Taliban somehow pursued a policy of deceit and saying that, well, they have changed. They are not against the women anymore. They do not want those fundamental and radical policies to implement. But look, after 2 years, in the past 2 years, the violation and the human rights abuses by the Taliban are unprecedented. They have almost erased women from the society. They have banned girls from education and schools. So this should not be somehow tolerated by the international community. I believe that there are still means that the Taliban can be held accountable and responsible for their deeds. But the international community has to realize what are those most important tools that they can use to make sure that the engagement that could help the Afghan people directly, that remains there, and also at the same time, the Taliban can bend to those pressure to create an environment in which all the Afghans can live in peace and harmony.
Sadiq, when you speak to people back home, do you get the impression that a lot would like to leave the country? And if they want to leave the country, are they able to? Or is the Taliban stopping that?
It's so unfortunate. Yes, I have been speaking in the past week with so many Afghans. Everybody is trying to get out of Afghanistan. Men in thousands, in hundreds, everywhere, in each province. They just want to get out. First reason is the security. They don't feel safe anymore under the Taliban because of the arrests, because of those draconian laws of the Taliban, and also because of the education for their girls and daughters. So it's very obvious, and you see it, you hear it when you talk to anyone. Everybody just want to go out and leave Afghanistan. It's very unfortunate. We have millions of people in Pakistan, millions of people in Iran, and hundreds of thousands of Afghans now going to Europe because of the current situation in Afghanistan. It's very unfortunate.
Yes, it certainly is. Sadiq, thank you so much for taking